WandaVision, Kyle.
WandaVision.
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 WandaVision. We know what we're here to talk about. We can do the bits. Marvel Studios' first Disney Plus original show.
Indeed, it's actually... When's the last actual big Marvel release we had? Was it Spider-Man Far From Home?
Spider-Man Far From Home, yeah. Black Widow was delayed by coming up on a year now.
Yeah. It's been a while. We're kind of out of the Marvel cycle that we were in for a long time there.
The first year that we've had no Marvel content, 2020.
Yeah.
Do you know the original release date for Doctor Strange 2?
I don't know.
May 7th this year.
Well,
that
so much for that.
It should be right round the corner. Yeah, so much for it. It's late. It's still coming late this year now. They've been able to keep it in 2021. But yeah, so we've had this big break, but now they're really ramping it up. Like there's that spreadsheet thing that I showed you I got from Twitter, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it's just every week from now until eternity, every Friday, Marvel Studios are putting out a show.
You know, it's weird, because I know that this show wasn't the original intention for the first show to come out. It was supposed to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
I'm unsure. I think those two shows though are on separate tracks, so they could probably come out in either order. It wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, I just mean in terms of establishing big Marvel TV shows, this one was kind of the perfect start because of how TV themed it is.
Yeah,
This is a project, at least for the first few episodes, that wouldn't work as a movie at all. This has to be a TV show, and I think that's a good way to go about it.
It is a really good way to go about it. I think that it was one of those risks that Marvel do every once in a while, right? Guardians of the Galaxy, arguably maybe even a Doctor Strange. Now WandaVision. It's not immediately apparent why you would want to make this. This must have been a hard sell. Kevin Feige's a smart man, but when people came to him with the scripts or I don't know if he's the one that commissions the ideas or if he's got a big brainstorming room with people that come up with these ideas. But come on, think of the concept. Explain that to someone in 2008 when Paul Bettany goes into a recording booth to do the voice of Jarvis for Iron Man. They're like, Paul, listen, in 10 years, you're going to be co-billed on a streaming original show about a cyborg and a witch. Well, he's
an android. He's not a cyborg.
Yeah, he's not a cyborg.
He's just a robot. He's a really highly advanced robot.
Yes, he is. That's true.
I mean, let's just get into it. I
want to say something first, actually.
Okay.
Are we going to call these reviews almost like an autopsy, or are we going to give it more respect?
Are you saying it's dead?
Well, yeah. See, I've wrote a couple of tweets about WandaVision, how we're recording this for the podcast, and I put it on our new Twitter account, by the way. And I wrote the word autopsy 3 different times in different drafts of the tweet, and I kept removing it. And to such point where I never ended up posting, because I was like, that sounds cruel. That sounds like we're talking about something that we didn't like. But I also quite like the term autopsy.
I would use autopsy as a reference to something I don't like.
Right, it's almost like a slur of art.
Like if we were going to talk about Anthem, I would call that an autopsy.
Right, okay, we're finding out what went wrong and hacking it up.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Right, okay, that's fine.
To be honest, I wouldn't feel comfortable calling it a review either, because we normally call it reviews, but to me a review is something a bit more professional. This is a discussion. This
is a discussion about the first and probably only season of WandaVision.
I cannot see this having another season. This feels like a very self-contained kind of story.
Yeah, Marvel storytelling being almost like a live service video game where this isn't in a bottle. You can't just keep replaying it in a vacuum. Other movies will happen that will make a second season a lot more difficult.
Well, that is one of the things that I think is interesting about this show in particular is I do not think this show's going to be very rewatchable. this show is one of those shows that feels very designed to be watched in the moment. Like,
It's part of the Marvel zeitgeist.
yes, it's the show designed to be watched episode by episode, and I don't know if going back and watching the whole season again will give that same experience.
Well, let me ask you: do you think they were right to do weekly releases, or would you prefer to have binged it?
Oh, I absolutely think they were right to do weekly releases. Like, I'm normally Mr. Proponent of binge watching, but for this kind of show where it's all about the mystery and trying to figure out, it's
the
absolutely
weeks of speculation.
Yes, it's
which I'm sure we'll get onto.
Yes, but the speculation is an important part of this show in particular, I think.
Yes, if you watched it in one sitting from lunchtime to dinner time, it would be out of the discussion within 2 weeks, because not really many of the massive theories that it opens itself up to come true.
Yeah, the answers in the end are kind of the boring ones that you would expect. They don't take it in any crazy directions.
They do not take it in any crazy directions. It's very... by the end of the show, I would say it becomes a little bit more rote.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
It starts off quite... Wow, this is, again, Guardians of the Galaxy. Why are you making this kind of weird property? And then it turns out to be amazing and totally worth the gamble. But by the end of it, I don't know, it feels done.
I wouldn't say it ends. I'd say the first 3 episodes where it's full sitcom with just the occasional break are probably the best the show got for me. And like, I liked all the stuff in the real world, but it was never as interesting to watch.
Yeah, it almost felt like it was turning into, I don't know, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something. It felt very television procedural. Kind
of.
I know we like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't mean to say it like it's a slur, but
No, I get what you're saying. Like, it felt just a bit more... It became just kind of a generic Marvel property, as opposed to something really interesting.
Yeah, when they were doing sitcoms, it was just wild.
Yeah, because that was something completely different to what we'd seen, and they had all the references to old TV shows and things like this, and it was really interesting and really creative. And then when the sword guys come out and they're doing sciencey stuff, it's like, oh, this is just kind of like the first Thor movie again. It's like, okay, it's fine.
Except it's not a hammer and a rock; it's a hexagon over a town.
Yes.
No, but I do agree. What did you think of the show overall? All, what is it? 8 episodes? 9 episodes?
9 episodes.
When you look at the entire umbrella, it's a thumbs up, yeah? I
give it a thumbs up. I definitely have some problems with it, especially towards the end, but overall, it's like, if you like the Marvel stuff, it's more Marvel stuff, you know?
It's perfectly consistent with their products of old.
Yeah, if you don't like the Marvel stuff, it's not going to do anything to change that.
I actually think if you don't like the Marvel stuff, this show's going to be a headache.
Yeah, that's possible.
I'll reference my mum for a second. She enjoys your big blockbusters. She actually quite likes the Marvel movies in general. I don't think she probably couldn't tell you half of how everything connects. But she's seen Infinity War and she's seen Endgame, and she can follow those films along, and she understands who's dead and who's alive, and they've all, they snap back into reality. She understood that. But I think if I was to sit her down after Endgame and plop her in front of WandaVision, she would be going 6s and 7s. It would make no sense. I think this show is too much. Now, maybe I'm not giving my own mother enough credit, but we get it, Kyle, because we're nerds. We're nerds, but we're into this clock. We're part of the mesh that keeps this product and this business turning out its content, because we do nothing but talk about it and consume.
Yes.
But I don't think Mum's going to get it.
Well, about halfway through the show, I started watching it with my parents, because I was like, hey, I gave them the same argument, like, hey, this is a show you really need to watch and be part of the zeitgeist for.
Right, okay.
And the most revealing part of that was when Evan Peters showed up as Quicksilver, and neither of them knew what the hell that meant, because they haven't watched the X-Men films.
Yeah.
And I had to try and explain, like, okay, this is the guy who was in the X-Men films and played the same character because of weird licensing things where Quicksilver is both part of the X-Men and part of the Avengers. And it's if
Shared
you're not a nerd,
characters.
it's like it's meaningless.
It's not even if you're a nerd, it's just if you've got any comprehending in how copyright works.
Yeah.
Or licensing
like,
agreements. Like it's too much. I would say it's too much. It's not easily accessible for Mr. Citizen Man on the street going to work.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's actually jump right into it. We'll start here. What do you think of the stunt casting of Evan Peters?
When he first showed up at the end of the episode, I was like, "Oh, you clever bastards!" I respected it. I was like, "I see what you're doing here." I didn't buy into any of the multiverse stuff particularly.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it might be fun, but I never once thought that was actually Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. I didn't think they were going to go there, and they didn't. Ultimately, that ends up just being kind of like a plot cul-de-sac that doesn't really go anywhere. It's like, oh, he's just a regular guy. It's like, yeah, it's the boringest answer, but
he's a guy
sure.
with a funny name.
His name is Boner.
Well, yeah, done. I mean, it clearly did come out of stunt casting, and I almost feel like they wrote that part for Evan Peters before writing the part for just anyone to play. Like that wouldn't have worked if it wasn't a stunt cast.
Yes.
If that was just some actor playing not Aaron Taylor Johnson Quicksilver, but we're supposed to believe it, and she says the recast and Darcy Lewis says the recast Pietro.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean anything, because we would all go, oh yeah, they recast Pietro.
Yeah.
But because it's Evan Peters,
it's designed to make you speculate. Yeah.
Yeah, that also would play into why you agree, and I agree with you that this show was very much designed around its weekly release format. Because if they open that door and it's Evan Peters and you think, oh my god, it's Quicksilver, and then 2 hours later you finish the season and that's not it. Oh well,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's just.
Okay, what was the point?
Which is kind of the feeling I got about that, and at the end of his arc, where he's the guy who lives in the house that Agatha was borrowing.
Because a lot of people are slightly resentful. They think that maybe Marvel trolled too much, and not just necessarily Marvel, but the entire a proportion of the cast of the show as well. Like, they knew what they were making. They knew that people will go rampant with speculation, and it's kind of opened up this Pandora's box of people speculating stuff, and then because what they theorise doesn't happen, they're annoyed because they felt entitled to be correct.
Yes.
And I don't know how... I get it on one level. Now, I happened to have never really believed that Evan Peters was going to be Quicksilver either. It wasn't... I have... me and some other friends, including friend of the show, Ryan, we had long discussions some evenings about this, and I was kind of never buying it for a second, and some people really were, and I think I also kind of thought that Evan Peters would show up to be someone just through virtue of the actor who they've hired. Now, again, it turned out just to be stunt casting, and he was no one.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a whole lot of thing about maybe he's Mephisto, maybe he's Nightmare.
I did kind of subscribe to the idea that he was more than just a random nobody,
an actor.
But,
they pulled a Trevor Slattery.
Nice callback.
He's an actor, and he's just playing no one.
Yeah.
It's a red herring. No, I kind of think that I thought he was going to be someone, and then for that not to be true, but in the script there's so many references to things like demon spawn and hell, and I for reasons unbeknownst to me, I felt like, well, I don't even know if it's unbeknownst to me. I think I know the speculation community, because I don't read the comics. I just kind of follow the trends, what people are discussing. Then I do my own research on the wikis and the forums, and I get back and make up my own assumptions. Reading the source material need not apply. But it did match up. There were lines, and I think the writers must have known it. The Marvel writers are smart cookies, you know? Even if they get accused of doing some cookie cutter stories sometimes, which isn't a lie, they do. But they know if they're trolling their audience. And then there was the Paul Bettany actor that I've never worked with before, who's fantastic. And someone asked a journalist asked Lizzie Olsen if you had a Luke Skywalker level cameo. She never said Luke Skywalker. Someone asked her, "Is there going to be a cameo in the level of Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian?" Spoilers, by the way. And she said yes. And I think it was her and Paul Bettany texting back and forth, going, "Ha ha, that would be really funny." Like,
I have seen a bunch of articles now where Paul Bettany is like, yes, the cameo I was talking about was me.
Yeah, he also kind of started to walk it back, and the director, I believe, of an episode said that Paul pretty much dug himself a hole and he'll have to dig himself out of that one. And this was before the final episode aired.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think there was a lot of ha-ha-ha tee-hee-hees back and forward, and this is the first time that, I know Marvel fans they don't exist in a vacuum. They watch other shows. But this was the first case of Marvel Studio stans. Now, I'm not using fans, I'm being quite deliberate with stans, because the stans are the hardcores and the fans are the more kind of sideliners. This is the first time that they've properly had their content chummed out over the course of weeks. And I know they could watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot, but a lot of them just don't. You know,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't have the same kind of like speculative value to
it doesn't. It's sometimes it can be quite procedural, sometimes, not all the time. So I think people kind of went crazy. Like, they went overboard. They were like, well, this is Marvel. They give 100 squillion pounds to their projects and they'll get everyone. They'll bring back Stan Lee for a cameo, you know? Like, they can do anything. And you've got to kind of rein in and think, well, you know, it's a TV show. It's definitely got a high budget. Like, it looks Marvel Studios quality. People were giving last episode shit for some wonky green screening. I never noticed, but I think that's because I was just invested in the characters.
I didn't particularly notice it either.
No,
I mean, to me, this on my side, Vision's fight scenes always look a bit weird to me because they're just it's this weird robot who phases through things, and that's kind of his power. And it always looks a bit weird in CGI to me, but that's just, there's nothing they can really do about that. That's just how he works.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I mean, I will say, I kind of think that the fights in the last episode were a bit boring.
I would agree with that, especially the fight between Wanda and Agatha. They're just shooting big blasts at each other, and I was thinking, like, you can do so much more interesting things with magic. I'm thinking back to Doctor Strange 1v1ing Thanos in Infinity War, and he's like cloning himself 100 times and doing all this wild crap. And it's like, that's what you can do with magic. Magic can do craziness.
I'm willing to dismiss that as she doesn't really know how to use her powers yet. That's why she's going to be seeing Doctor Strange, and why everyone thought he was going to show up in this season, including myself. He got a name drop, I guess, or a title drop.
I kind of assumed he would come in as well, but I'm fine with the fact that he didn't. Like, I'm not sad that he didn't.
Yeah, a lot of people are. That's what I mean about people speculating and annoyed because they felt entitled to be correct. Like, I was wrong. Doctor Strange didn't show up, but I'm not mad about it. A lot of people are.
I prefer a self-contained story for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, you can have your little references and little Easter eggs, and maybe a post-credit scene, but for the most part, I prefer a self-contained story.
And Kevin Feige was asked once, I think it was back when that television thing was happening when they announced all the shows, and people said, will you need to watch these shows to understand the films more? Like, if I miss WandaVision, am I going to be just lost? And he said no. And I think that speaks to the direction of where these Disney Plus shows can go. Almost like they're a new dead-end branch for B-tier characters. They kind of expand on them a little bit, but they can't have anything happen in the shows that'll, you know, oh my god, if you miss that, your next film you're going to be completely lost in. Like,
well, to a certain extent, that's the same with the movies. Other than, like, the big one, like Infinity War and Endgame, you do need further context, especially Endgame. But, like, if you watch the first Avengers film without watching Thor, you're probably fine. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, I kind of come back to these. I think we spoke about this with Star Wars before when they were trying to turn Star Wars into like a Marvel Studios thing. Where these are all separate brands under the Marvel banner. Iron Man is a separate franchise from Captain America, 2 distinct franchises. And in theory, you should be able to watch Iron Man 1, 2, and 3 without watching any other Marvel films. And the same goes for Captain America 1, 2, and 3. Now, I know Civil War kind of gets a bit convoluted, but it's basically an Avengers 2.5, and it's not a perfect system. But more or less, you should be able to watch all these separate franchises without having to watch, you know, if you're just an Iron Man fan, you don't need to watch the Avengers films if you don't want to. I know there's references to the first Avengers and Iron Man 3, but it's not essential. they are they're supposed to have their own through line.
Yeah, they're self-contained.
Yeah, they are self-contained. But I think that, like, if I don't watch Iron Man 2, I might be quite lost in Iron Man 3. I don't think that... But I think if I don't watch WandaVision, I'm going to be able to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier and be fine. They're in different tracks.
I expect even... I may not even expect a reference. They might make one reference to something going on in... I don't even remember what state.
I don't expect anything. The way this was all filmed... I think they just are on tracks that WandaVision's for the multiverse track, and this in Falcon and Winter Soldier is on a different track for Black Widow and some
spy stuff.
Spy stuff, yeah. Winter Soldier territory town. I just don't think they'll tie in at all. Like, this is going to be a case of Marvel now doing multiple different stories running in a linear direction, and they'll never touch.
Which, to be fair, is probably the right call, given that they just did Endgame and that was their big culmination of every story. They're starting small again.
Starting small again, they are. Though people suspect that Doctor Strange 2 is going to kind of be like a mini Avengers event. And then possibly Captain Marvel 2 might as well, because Secret Invasion's...
I don't trust anyone's speculation.
I mean...
People are dumb.
The multiverse, lots of different people can show up.
I know, and I'm sure we're going to see our precious Tobey Maguire and all that. And
oh my god, see, after this show, Kyle, after WandaVision, my Christ, see, with all the speculation that's gone wrong, it's actually shaken me quite a bit. Even stuff that I didn't like, speculation about, Pietro Maximoff, Evan Peters, sorry. And, like, all these speculations and stuff that's going to happen, and none of it did. I'm starting to get scared about Spider-Man and Doctor Strange now. Now, I know they are films with much larger possibilities, infinitely so, and again, they are the films and the TV shows are certain things that they're not going to do. But now I'm like, and I read a tweet from a journalist, and he was it was tongue-in-cheek, like he wasn't being fully sincere about it, but it was, he had, this tweet was kind of in response to the WandaVision, not letdown, not for me anyway, but a lot of people were, and he was like, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire aren't showing up in Spider-Man 3, are they? And then it kind of hit me a little bit, and I was like, oh no. What if they're not? Kyle, what do we do? Or no, what do we do? We get on with our lives. But it's a lot of speculation and time and energy, and like in the franchise that we've willingly put forth into it, and it's been fun. And then to just not be rewarded, despite there being indicators like Alfred Molino's Doc Ock, he is in the film. Jamie Foxx's Electro, he is in the film. So there's all these very legitimate indicators. It's not like we're going up the garden path with no evidence. There are these indicators, and then there's going to be no reward for it. And who knows?
See, I don't particularly buy into the rewarded for speculation thing. I mean, to a certain extent, there's nothing the writers can do about that. It's like people are going to speculate no matter what, and people are always going to come up with the most completely outlandish ideas.
I think this is, I kind of disagree with you there a little bit. Where if especially with WandaVision, actually, if writers are writing stuff and they know the format, they know it's going to be a weekly release, and these are all deliberately written so. And then they do put in all these little references. Like I can't remember. I think it was the episode 2 or something when they were doing the Dick Van Dyke show, and it had like an animated intro, and it was black and white, and there was like a pretty prominent character's helmet under the TV in the cabinet, and people speculated on that for a week, and then nobody talked about it ever again. I can't remember who the character was. I
don't remember this actually.
I don't remember the character's name because again it was dropped so quickly, but people spoke about it for that between episode 2 and 3. There was a week there of, was that going to turn out something? Remember the Reed Richards thing? Like, that felt completely mental, and I don't even think the show was hinting at that. But I think there's...
that was just people wanting something to happen.
Yeah, there was nothing there for that at all. But I think with things like Unleash Hell, Demon Spawn, and, all shit like that, and a helmet and an intro that might just be an Easter egg, they know people are going to speculate.
Like, Marvel always does Easter egg stuff, though. I recently started you've been doing a Marvel movie rewatch thing because you got the box set, and I was like, I'll do it too. Why not? And I've been going through some of the Disney Plus movies.
You've not been publicising as much as me?
No, I've not. But so I was watching Iron Man 2, which, by the way, Iron Man 2, perfectly fine movie. I don't get why everyone dislikes
Perfectly fine movie. I agree.
Anyway,
it's quite apparent that the villains are a bit underwritten.
I like Justin Hammer. I think he's funny.
He's good.
Anyway, there's a part in that movie where he's designing the new element or whatever, and Coulson pulls out like a prototype for Captain America's shield, and he's like, "Why do you have this?" And it's like, that's not a thing that goes anywhere. That's literally just an Easter egg. It's got nothing to do with even Captain America. And Marvel always does that kind of thing. So there's plenty of Easter eggs in this show which I never expected would go anywhere. Like, I didn't see this prominent helmet you're talking about, but that's the same kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I would agree with maybe the helmet then. But there are, like, I would say a level of an Easter egg. There's a bit where Evan Peters says kick-ass. And,
yes.
Yeah, and she kind of goes, kick-ass. And that's because both Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Evan Peters were in Kick-Ass, and Aaron Taylor-Johnson played Kick-Ass, and Evan Peters played his friend, who became a rip-off superhero called Ass Kick.
Yes, it's funny. That's a funny little nod.
That's a little Easter egg there. That's cute and innocent, and it clearly isn't, like, we're not doing a Kick-Ass crossover. I'm not about to see Kick-Ass show up in the MCU. But again, I think that sometimes the way these shows are constructed, you're kind of, if they're writing a mystery, you are kind of supposed to be working through it with supposed to be, like, you know, there's a certain expectation if it's a zeitgeisty show. You are kind of working through it week on week with everyone, and then there's a big rewarding payoff, and then if you go back and watch it, you can go, oh, well, there was that there, and there was that there, and that's quite fun, it all pieces together, and we've worked it all out. It's a community thing for the fandom. And then if you get a satisfying payoff with all this... Now, again, I agree. Lots of outlandish stuff would happen. Like, what if, when the portals opened in Endgame, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine walked through? Completely baseless speculation with absolutely nothing there for it, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a mid-tier in there where you can go too high and it's stupid, and then you can operate in the middle ground somewhere where I think that maybe being rewarded for your participation is not the worst thing.
Well, the thing is, they revealed the big mystery halfway through the show. Like, why is it all a TV show? Oh, it's Wanda. And that's it. That's the answer. So then they introduce, like, smaller mysteries, like who is fake Pietro, who murdered the dog, you know, things like this.
I'm going to ask you, actually, what do you think about Catherine Hahn as Agatha Harkness, or just Agnes?
I love a good cheesy villain, and she is an excellent cheesy witch villain. I think she's fun.
I adored her. Every second on screen, she's a terrifically funny actress, and I think, like, her timing's great, and I think she was given a lot of good material to work with. Because I feel like I whenever I was talking about how the show was a little bit unsatisfactory for people that invest time into it, I don't want to misconstrue that for me actually having any arcs with the show necessarily, or series anyway, because I thought that she was given great material, which to the writer's credit, and she delivered it amazingly. And then when they do the reveal that, you know, she's I'm Agatha Harkness, and then they do the song,
yes,
you know, she was I'm sure she was the one singing it. It was Catherine Hahn saying it was Agatha all along.
I mean, it's a banger, that song.
It's a bop. I've listened to it quite a few times where I'm like, if I'm walking around, like if I'm taking something downstairs, or if I'm going to collect a delivery at the front door or something, up my Alexa, up my room, I can hear it in the background, you know. Or it's been all over TikTok. Jesus Christ, man. Oh, jeez. Oh, Kyle, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle doesn't really use TikTok. He only sees what I send sometimes. But Agatha all along, Kyle. My goodness gracious. That was the anthem of, that was the national anthem of TikTok for a while there. See the end line of that song, or the end. And
I killed Sparky too.
Brilliant. 10 out. You get the Emmy. That wonderful. I like a zinger. And that was a zinger. That was a knee slapper right there. Kyle, would you agree?
Yes. No, I she's one of the more fun Marvel villains, I'll say. Like, a lot of the Marvel villains are... You get two kind of Marvel villains. You get funny Marvel villains, and you get boring Marvel villains. And she is a top-tier funny Marvel villain.
Would you consider Christopher Eccleston in the hit film Thor: The Dark World as the Dark Elf?
He is a boring villain.
Boring villain.
Yes.
He's barely got any lines. Yeah, I would agree. Catherine Hahn, 10 out of 10. Great villain. Kept her alive.
Indeed.
I believe from my readings, Agatha Harkness is a wee bit of a Loki character, where they can kind of sometimes be a wee bit of an assistance, but you never fully trust them because they've also got their own agenda, but they can kind of help out maybe. So
I believe so.
I've got a feeling that maybe she might be awoken maybe by a certain...
I mean, yeah, she's not the most villainy of villains. She just wants to be more powerful. That's pretty generic. We never get any kind of she wants to take over the world kind of plan.
And we do get things which is like, you don't know what you've just done, and we don't get clarification on it. What did she do, Agatha? What did Wanda Maximoff just do? What, she changed her clothes?
I guess she fully awoken the Scarlet Witch or whatever.
Yeah, is this going to be Marvel's Dark Phoenix?
It did. It was big Dark Phoenix energy. I'll say that.
Massive Dark Phoenix energy, and I'm surprised no one's been pointing to it. I've not seen anyone, because everyone's so caught up in it being Wanda and the final realization of the Scarlet Witch. I'm like, is nobody's seeing any Dark Phoenix vibes here? Is this not a bit because if they do a Dark Phoenix arc again, and we've already had 2 attempts at it, but if they try and do it again now under the official Marvel Studios banner, even if they do a good job at it, I feel like it's already been done now. They gave it to Wanda.
Yeah. We're talking a lot about the outside of the show, which I guess in some sense is the more interesting part.
That's the wider, what does it mean for the future? That's why it's a bit more interesting about the sitcom stuff.
In terms of the speculating type stuff, like, I'm not particularly in the Marvel fandom a lot. Like, I watch the shows, I enjoy them, I talk about it with you and some other friends, but I don't join the bigger, wider audience on that kind of stuff. So,
yes, you don't walk into the town hall and have the meeting.
Yeah, so a lot of the wild theories I mostly only got kind of secondhand. To me, the show, my personal engagement with it was less speculatory, and when I realized that the mysteries were not going to be super crazy, like, basically episode 4 was when I realized this, where it's like, okay, it's Wanda processing the trauma of losing her husband, right? That's what the show is. And that's, at that point, I just started engaging with the show on that level, as opposed to trying to figure out any wider mysteries to it. Right.
And do you think that you were given a more satisfactory viewing experience as a result?
Sort of. I was until White Vision showed up.
Oh, how?
I think if White Vision, that whole subplot, is easily the worst part of the show to me. I think it comes out of nowhere and doesn't really mean anything, and kind of clashes with what the thematic point of the show was.
Well, for me, I was aware there was two antagonists or 2 problems to overcome in this show. There was, who is the magic baddie, because I knew there was one, even if Wanda was partly responsible for the simulation. There had to be something, because there's someone to punch, Kyle, right? Let's not kid ourselves. And you've got the magic villain, you've got the science villain. The science villain was Hayward. That became clear maybe in episode 3, when I think that's when he first shows up, I think.
Episode 4.
Episode 4. Right, that becomes apparent there. That's like, he is the science man. Vision is science. Yes. Who is Vision going to punch? Is Vision going to punch another magic person? Probably not. Now, I didn't think we were going to get a White Vision, but I don't really know what I thought we were going to get, because it was still unclear if she was puppeting his corpse or if it was a simulation. Now,
it's kind of the Marvel problem, right? It's like, ideally, in a perfect version of the show, he wouldn't punch anyone because it's not really essential to the story, but because it's a Marvel property, yes, there has to be someone for Vision to punch in the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's also kind of what takes me out of certain things as well. I wish I could just get lost in the Hugh Jackman shows up in Endgame world. I wish I could fall down that portal, pardon the pun. But I just can't, because I understand the workings of a TV show.
Yes.
Or even a film or Marvel property. I understand the genre reasonably enough to know that someone has to punch someone. Like, it's got to happen. If this was a show with muted colours where Wanda processes her grief, it might be more compelling for even us, but TikTok and Twitter ain't going to talk about it as much.
Yes, I know. I understand. It's pop culture.
It's pop culture, yeah. So we've got to live with it, you know. If you want something interesting and wacky, watch Lighthouse. I think Martin Scorsese was right when he spoke about Marvel things being a bit of. He said they weren't cinema, which is just maybe being a bit pretentious, but he said they were more like roller coaster rides.
Yes.
And I kind of get what he means. Like, this is whoa, this is great fun, but that's as deep as it goes usually.
Yes.
Sometimes you get a little water feature, like her processing her grief, but
you get the occasional indications of depth, which I think for me personally, I think the Guardian movies do that quite well, but they are for the most part still just popcorn action movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish this show could have been more, and I think the first few episodes really, really indicated that it was more, because like the first 3 episodes, no one gets punched. There's no action. It's purely just like a 40s sitcom, and that's super interesting. But then by the end, it becomes a Marvel show.
Yeah, well, that's a novelty at first, because you got the first 2 episodes released in a bulk, and critics actually got the first 3 episodes released in a bulk, and I kind of wish we did as well, because episode 3 is very much a bookend on that first chapter, if you like, because at the end of episode 3 is when they first see it outside the
shatter the illusion. Yeah.
You see the coloured hand watching the TV, which turned out to be Darcy.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I kind of I think that the novelty is going to wear off eventually. Like most people were saying this at least in the wider speculation of things that you don't participate in. When they kind of started to dip back into sitcoms after having left it to see the outer world, the bigger world of what's really going on, people were like, oh my god, these episodes are quite short, and I don't think I could just take I don't think I could survive another episode of just pure sitcom when I want the story to start unfolding. I don't want family hijinks.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
The show that I want is not the show that everyone else wants. I understand.
Yeah, I don't even know if you would want that either in the end, because you want to feel that the MCU is moving somewhere. If we're just sitting watching them do weekly sitcoms, don't watch Marvel. you can watch sitcoms. You can go watch the Dick Van Dyke Show if that's what you want.
I know. Yeah, it's just okay. Back to White Vision. What's your take on White Vision then? You know, not necessarily, but you understand that Vision needs to punch someone.
Vision needs to punch someone, and I understand that they also need a key to let him leave the simulation, and that's what that is. I mean, there's, like everything in Marvel, because they've been around for so long, there's precedent in the comics, Kyle.
I know, yes. I've seen some people, like, on Twitter, like, Marvel's just bringing back all the dead characters. It's like, yeah, that's the comics, my friend. That's been happening for 80 years. No one ever dies in comic books.
No one's ever really gone. And it's... Yeah, I'm fine with White Vision, honestly. Because the implication of White Vision, I think, on the surface is that it's a different person, but it's not. The White Vision body is the body that we've had for Vision since 2015. It's the one that Ultron made. It's the one that Thanos ripped its head open. White Vision is the Vision body. It's the canon body that was in Infinity War that we watched die. It's just the colour one that we've had for WandaVision, the show, has just been a simulation, if you like. The Mind Stone isn't real, and this body's just shown up, and now that its memories have been unlocked, Vision's memories have been unlocked, he won't have any memories of what's transpired in WandaVision. He'll just it's the same person. It's a
regular Phil Coulson season 7 situation.
Yes, exactly. It's it's the same person. I'm fine with it. I liked that they had a little discussion in a library talking about the Ship of Theseus. If other shows took the time to sit and actually debate what is a person, and like, it would be quite satisfying maybe, and we could process it. But no, WandaVision is the only show.
That was like the only part of White Vision I liked. Like the whole idea that I can't remember his name. The old sword guy.
The director.
The head of Hayward. His name's Hayward.
I was going to call him Adler, but that's the guy from the new Call of Duty.
Yeah, Hayward. It's like, it's a post-credit scene in episode 8 where he's like, I've been secretly rebuilding Vision, and we just pumped some magic into him, and now I have an evil Vision. It comes out of absolutely nowhere, and the fact that he sends this new Vision in, like, what does he expect to happen there? I don't understand it.
To punch things and crush...
I just thought it was a bit silly.
It crushed Wanda's skull, Kyle.
I mean, yeah, realistically there, he could have killed Wanda instantly, even though when he's talking to Vision later, he says, my primary objective is to kill the Vision, even though that doesn't make any sense. His primary objective should be to kill Wanda.
You kill the simulation, you kill the Vision. Tomato. You know, it's 2 birds in 1 stone. And here, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
They were tracking 2 vibranium simulation signatures in the simulation. Does that mean Wanda can make vibranium?
Yes, I guess so.
I guess so. She can't make life, but she can make vibranium simulations.
Well, everything in the simulation was, like, real, technically, I guess. Like, we keep calling it a simulation. It was more like a reality bubble.
A reality bubble, that would be a more fair descriptor. The kids, though, weren't pre-existing kids. They came from somewhere.
No, she fabricated them, I guess. I don't know.
I think they're from Hit, and he says, thank you for choosing me as your parents at the end.
That was a weird line.
Are they I think maybe they are from Hell.
Oh dear.
I think that maybe she popped them up, and then we're going to see more of it. Because I think the kids have got to...
They tease that at the end when the kids are yelling for help.
Yeah, the kids have got to come back because we're making a Young Avengers show, and we've got to have all of them.
They're going to be older.
They're going to get recast. But yeah, they haven't announced making a Young Avengers thing, but you know, you've got the Kate Bishop, you've got Hailey Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, and you've got Miss Marvel, you've got the Ironheart show coming out, you've got
They are assembling the pieces, as it were.
Yeah,
yes.
They are assembling the pieces. They don't need to announce it for it to kind of be semi-obvious. So, you know, we'll see where it goes. What do you think of Wanda's new outfit?
I like it. I do kind of miss the coat. I wish she added a coat to it, but I like the red tiara thing. I think it's very I don't know, it's very different from the normal magic aesthetic in Marvel, which is like Doctor Strange robes, Agatha big purple flowy witch gown thing.
Yes, so
I don't know. It's fun.
I get it. No, I get it. I didn't like the hood. At the end, when she flies away, she has like a little red hood.
Yeah, it's
little Red Riding Hood.
It's kind of strange.
I didn't like it, but I thought everything. I thought she looked fantastic at the end. I was very happy that she finally got her. Because actually, I say finally. I feel like at the end of Age of Ultron, when they do the Avengers gag, and it's like the new Avengers are showing up, and Thor leaves and Tony leaves. She shows up in like the red coat.
Yes, you're right. She has a different outfit at the end of Age of Ultron, but then they decided it looked kind of bad, so she moves back to wearing a corset and a big red trench coat.
Yes, and then she's got. I kind of like in Endgame or Infinity War. I kind of thought that was her kind of ready-made appearance. I thought they just were going to skip the crown because I didn't think they were going to be able to justify it. But I guess they justified it.
Yeah, she's a Sokovian fortune teller, Nathan.
She's a Sokovian fortune teller. I thought that was a great gag in the sitcoms. I thought the sitcom. I know I think we spoke about. We're kind of just looping around to it again, but because I haven't spoke about some of them in specifics. I thought their intro sequences were amazingly creative and imaginative.
Yes, I would agree. I thought those were fun.
It was a good time. I thought, I wonder how much money they had to pay to like.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I suppose they own the rights to some of them. I know they do, but
well, yeah, they name dropped the Dick Van Dyke Show and Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, I bet Dick Van Dyke got a pretty penny to show up on that show. Like Dick Van Dyke's never going to show up as an MCU character now. Neither is Bryan Cranston.
Dick Van Dyke's still alive, isn't he?
He's still alive. You think Dick Van Dyke was dead?
He's so old, that's all.
You still see... Do you not see videos that he posts on Twitter every once in a while and it's him sitting in a restaurant with a bunch of people and they start singing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
I haven't.
Oh, it's the most heartwarmingest thing ever. When he showed up in Mary Poppins Returns, Kyle, oh, my heart fluttered. I love Dick Van Dyke. He's such a lovely and entertaining, like, stamp of Hollywood. Whenever Dick Van Dyke shows up, I just get a wee glow, Kyle. He's a great guy. No, but, yeah. Dick Van Dyke's still alive, and Bryan Cranston showed up when they'd done a little Malcolm in the Middle skit as well when they went into the Civil War era. Marvel, I don't mean the literal American Civil War.
Yes.
And
when she's having her little chat with Vision.
Yeah, and that my heart did kind of sink there because I think Bryan Cranston would be wonderful in the MCU, and if they're going to follow the rules strictly, he can't show up now.
I mean, they've also made loads of references to Star Wars, and Samuel L. Jackson is in Star Wars, so, you know...
We've never seen a clip of him in Star Wars, and they've never referenced the prequels directly. They've just spoke about Star Wars proper, like, as a franchise that exists, and whenever they've specifically mentioned things, it's been like Empire Strikes Back or something, you know? Like, they referenced Aliens, but... And Sigourney Weaver was in Defenders.
I don't think they rules out like him coming back as a character.
Seeing his face to me means something. I just don't know, because then when you go back to watch WandaVision, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the sitcom eras I'm not particularly familiar with. Like, up until Malcolm in the Middle, none of those shows I'd really watched.
Roseanne.
And there's only one era after Malcolm in the Middle, which is the Modern Family one, which obviously I've watched Modern Family.
It was a mixture of Modern Family and The Office, I think.
Yeah, the looking to the camera part was The Office, but the sitting on the couch talking about things was very Modern Family.
The testimonial stuff. I loved the testimonial stuff, especially back to Catherine Hahn's. She actually bit a kid once.
Yes.
It was amazing. Wonderfully funny. Or, how am I supposed to tell their kids that their mother's 2 steps away from going Cocoa Puffs or whatever? Wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
I have to say, like, just in general, I like that the Scarlet Witch and Vision get an actual focus, because for years now in the movies they've always been this kind of like tertiary side story.
Yeah, this
like not even like a secondary story.
Disney Plus is a place for B-level characters to explore their, I suppose if you're saying tertiary, they'd be C-level characters, but it's a place for characters that will never get their own movies to wider. We're never getting a Loki movie, he's getting a show. We're never getting a Falcon movie or a Winter Soldier movie. They can get a show. That's what these are. I
mean, I do think that like Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen specifically, does have movie potential.
Same. But I think Doctor Strange 2 will cover that.
Yes, I suppose.
It could be argued it's a bit of a cheat. Maybe they think they want to put bums in seats for the cinema. What do we think of this show's, because not just the episode, but the show's post-credits? What do we think? The mid one as well?
The post-credits of the show? Just like teases
of the last episode.
We haven't even talked about Monica Rambeau yet, which I think is telling.
Telling, yeah. We'll come back to the post credits and let's talk about some of the characters who exist outside the simulation, or outside the reality bubble. Let's talk about Monica Rambeau. Let's talk about Jimmy Woo,
Darcy
Lewis, who I think kind of got done dirty at the end of this show.
Kind of. She shows up for 2 seconds in a truck and then she disappears.
One line through a blurry glass window. It might have as well been a face replacement. Darcy Lewis was great, and that's why we feel bad that she was done dirty. She was great in the first 2 Thor movies, even if their quality fluctuated up and down violently. She was quite consistently fun in them. She was the layman. She was the Commander Riker. She was the there to ask questions character. Like, that was the script. That was the script purpose. You got to think of it like a piece of code. What does this piece of code do? That's what that code does.
I was reading the wiki the other day of characters, and I was like, oh yeah, she had a love interest in the second Thor movie. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah, because when I'm doing my rewatch, yeah, she's the assistant. He's the assistant. His name's Ian.
The assistant.
The assistant, yeah. And she isn't a doctor, and they call her a doctor at one point. She's just like an intern, and then now she shows up in WandaVision, and she's Dr. Darcy Lewis. Nice bit of alliteration. We're like, yes, she changed her career path. Yes, good. Love Darcy Lewis. Love Kat Dennings in the role, and it was wonderful to have her back. I really wonder why she wasn't in the end more, almost to the point where it's jarring. Like, what's the behind the scenes reason for it, Kyle?
Like, based on the movies that have come out, there wasn't really a place for her, I don't think. I think the reason she's in this show now is because, like, we can use her here. We need a scientist character.
Sorry, I meant, like, at the end of WandaVision. I don't mean in between Thor 2 and...
Oh, no. Right, when she just disappears. Yeah, that is weird.
Like, it almost, like, was there a behind-the-scenes reason why she just...
Like, did she have an injury or something?
She didn't show up for the debrief. She never got one line of being like, hey, this is me and Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau. The 3 of us were going to be our own little crime-fighting trio. Nah. She's just gone. Apparently, debriefs are for losers, which sounds very in her character, but I feel that's just convenient. That's not the real reason.
Yes. It's weird. I know that Jane Foster's back in the next Thor movie. Is there any rumours about her being in the next Thor movie?
She says that she's not even been asked. Maybe she's lying, but Kat Dennings has said she's not been asked.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's there because she's a good character, not particularly because she has any necessary things to do in this lane. Like, you could substitute her part in the show for any other scientist-type character.
For a Marvel original, someone who we've never met before. Or maybe they could bring back Stellan Skarsgård. They could bring back, what's his name again in Marvel?
Eric Selvig.
Eric Selvig. That would have been fun. That would have been great. I miss Eric. Maybe he'll show up in the third form.
To be fair, that's exactly the same as Jimmy Woo's in this show because character from other property.
Right. I've got a bone to pick with Jimmy Woo stands. Right. And this is going to be a fight here, Kel. Right. Like, if people ever listen to this section of the podcast, forget the rest of the show. My God, people.
You don't want a Jimmy Woo show.
I'm not looking forward to the Jimmy Woo show. No, I think Jimmy Woo perfectly fine character. I do not dislike the character. I want to be clear. And I think Randall Park is fun in the role. But no one spoke about him before. I just rewatched Ant-Man and the Wasp the other night. He's in that film. He's kind of a dick in that film.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
He is kind of a bit of a dick. He's not deliberately mean, but he's very much a bit of an ass. And I think it was deliberate. And in this, he kind of shows up, and it almost feels like night and day. Like when Mark Ruffalo shows up in the first Avengers films, he's a completely different character going forward after maybe Age of Ultron. Like Joss Whedon done something with that character that every other director that worked with the character dropped. And I'm like, and everyone's like, oh my God, we'd love Jimmy Woo. I can't wait for an X, or, you know, I know they're not going to do it, but I would love to see a hypothetical X-Files show where every week it's Jimmy Woo going around solving, you know, alien Marvel mysteries. And oh God, Jesus Christ.
It's like, just watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., guys.
Oh, watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., don't worry about it. Clark Gregg was the original Jimmy Woo, Agent Coulson.
Yeah.
You know, he was greater and better in every way. I quite like the follow through though from Ant-Man, that he can now do close up magic that he couldn't do in Ant-Man the Wasp. Like, it's fun. I'm not bashing him because I just irrationally don't like him. It's the fan reaction to him that I don't get, that I'm having a problem with here. But the character was fine. You know, he can do close up hand magic that he couldn't do in Ant-Man the Wasp, and that's character development, and that's fun and neat, and way. Everyone's acting like this guy we love so much and he's great. Nobody watched it. Well, no one did watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think it didn't. Like, I don't think how successful it was. And it came out during the World Cup, so Europe had delayed viewing of it. I remember it came out in July and I couldn't see it until, was it October or something? Like, it was ridiculous. That's a whole other different. That's another thing to prod at a later date though. But yeah, so no, Jimmy Woo shows up and is just kind of nice and fun, and I don't really think is that integral to the plot.
No, he's there to call the FBI in the end to arrest the bad guy. That's his plot role. Okay, let's get back to the one person from the outside that kind of matters, which is Monica Rambeau.
Matters, yeah.
And I say kind of matters because her entire purpose of being in this show is to set her up to show up in things later. Yes,
exactly. I almost don't really get what this character's doing in the show, Kel.
I agree, yeah.
Like, they showed up, I forgot, I didn't say I forgot, but I first thought it was the mum from Captain Marvel, because the kid was so insignificant. But of course it would make sense that it was the kid, of course it would, because it's 20 years later and this is a young woman. I don't know, Kyle, am I missing something? Like, was there, why WandaVision is what I'm asking.
I asked the same question, like, when she first breaks the illusion, when it's like, your brother was killed by Ultron, it's like, okay, cool,
yeah,
we're doing some stuff here, and it's like, and after that, she becomes basically worthless to the plot. Like, she shows up, she walks back into the simulation, she beats up Evan Peters, and that's it, she gets superpowers.
Right.
And that's her reason for being there, is because she has to be in things later with superpowers.
People loved this origin. They were like, it's an origin story for the character of Photon Gale. It was beautiful and it was stunning. For some reason, she walked through the simulation.
Wait, hang on. Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sure.
For some reason, she walks through the simulation wall and she's given superpowers for reasons unknown, because no one else got superpowers. Darcy Lewis didn't get superpowers. No one else got superpowers.
Listen, Captain Marvel's backstory is an engine blew up and she got superpowers, okay? It's fine.
Powered by the... Yeah,
I'm not going to question the walking through the thing a couple times gave her superpowers. It's magic, right? She's got some magic in her now.
No one else got superpowers when they done it.
Well, it's because she went through multiple times. They do establish this.
I'm not buying it, Kyle. But it's, you know, fine, okay, because you know what? They skimmed over it with such... Like, even the show done it quite quickly. With some voiceover from Captain Marvel. Not the character, but the film. And
that scene where she's like splitting into 5 different versions of herself.
Yeah, in different time zones from the reality bubble. It was the show skimmed over it really quickly, and I noted it, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. They want to give her. Why couldn't she just already have had powers? I'm just saying that I think it would have been more effective had she already had powers, and that explained why she could go through the barrier. Maybe she was keeping a lid on the powers, not telling anyone about it. And that, or maybe had Captain Marvel 2 come out first, which obviously isn't practical because the show would be a few years late then. But had they done something with Captain Marvel, like, I don't know,
It's a very weird kind of side tangenty way to set up a superhero, because she is, in my understanding, like a fairly important Marvel character. Like, not like Iron Man level, but like she's a superhero in her own right?
Yes, Spectrum. Or Photon, it's the same character, but I think she changes her name sometimes. Because Photon was her mum's call sign.
And also sometimes Captain Marvel.
I believe she was Captain Marvel at one point, yeah. But we've got Carol Danvers for now, so we don't need to think about that. But yeah, I kind of think that we're just... I'm
going to guess this is not her superhero origin story in the comics.
No, I wouldn't think so. We'll go into the post-credit thing there, because I don't think there's much to really talk about in the show. She just kind of shows up there. At the end, Wanda apologises for everything. And she's like, well, it's fine. It's understandable if, my mum died and I wish I could, I would do things to see her again as well.
Yes.
And you're like, you're letting Wanda off the hook like that. She corrupted an entire town for weeks and you're just telling her to walk off. Like, I know she's a powered enhanced individual, but this is in clear violation of the Sokovia Accords.
I was kind of wondering, like, why are the FBI arresting Hayward? Did he actually do anything?
He tried to shoot kids, Kyle.
They were imaginary kids. They weren't real.
I know. I don't think he done really anything either. He gave off bad vibes, Kyle. Because the show painted them as a baddie, so it doesn't really matter if he actually done anything bad.
Well, I mean, like, to us, like, he tried to kill
the audience.
Them. He was being an asshole, but to the US government, would they actually say, like, yes, Wanda Maximoff did nothing wrong here? I don't think they would.
No, of course they wouldn't. Because he was the acting director of a legitimate government agency making
Nathan, this is a clear violation of the Sokovia Accords.
Yes, white vision was a US weapon.
Yes.
He was acting with authority from President Ellis.
Surely it's not still President Ellis. His term must be up by now.
I don't know.
Sloan.
Probably, yeah, Sloan. He's cool come back as President Sloan. It's, whatever, who cares? I will say that I did like at the start where she shows up and she's unblipped in the hospital and everything's going crazy.
That was a nice...
That was a nice
Not
sequence.
nice, but it was an interesting scene.
It was nice to see how it happens. Whereas in, like, Spider-Man, it's played for laughs.
Yes.
People come back in band practice in the middle of a basketball game. Like, I've always wondered what happens with people who were, like, in planes when they got snapped.
Yeah, or, like, what if someone else was sitting on that chair when she came back?
Horrific things, Kyle. Like, there was bodies...
100 Tuvixes running around.
Bodies falling from the sky, people merging with each other, getting spliced. Yeah, it's a transporter hellhole. So let's as I've said, and I keep sidetracking myself. Post credits, end credits. We need to speak to we need to speak to you, Monica, in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Walk at the cinema. Who do you think was going to be in there?
I assumed it would be like Nick Fury or someone. It's like, yeah. I assumed it would be a cameo, which it wasn't, which I guess I'm okay with, but I just assumed it would be some sort of cameo by someone.
Yeah, so did I. I was still holding it Doctor Strange to the last second. Like if she was going to tell me everything you know about Wanda Maximoff in this reality bubble, because we're going to war with her. Cut to credits. No, it's a Skrull, which is great, because Skrulls they were also in our last Marvel project. They showed up in the post credits of Spider-Man because they were.
Yes, they're big into the Skrulls right now.
Secret Invasion, Kyle. That's what we're going.
Yes.
And as I said to you in private, they met in the cinema because that's a visual code for the next time we meet with them, it'll be on the big screen. And I thought that was quite clever. That was a haha. Very good. Very, 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 very well done there, Marvel. Captain Marvel 2, only in cinemas. There we go. Support your theatre.
Like, yeah, I don't want to say that I dislike the character or the actor. I think
it's too soon to tell. I don't think the character was used that well.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. It's like she's completely irrelevant to this story.
Yeah, like this character was just here for the Twitter interactions.
Like I thought, like she goes back into the hex, and I thought, okay, she's gonna do something to save the day here, and then she just doesn't. She's just also in there.
They all kind of just run around. She turns into jelly and stops a couple of bullets that Billy can also stop. Billy or Tommy, I can't.
Tommy, I think, is... No, Billy's Wiki and Tommy's Speed. But either of them are not phased by bullets.
Yeah, because for a second I thought...
to be.
Just for a split second, I thought they were going to pull another Pietro and like riddle one of them with bullets. I feel like you didn't see that coming.
I did not see... I wouldn't have seen that coming.
In a flash in my head, I was like, is this kid going to speed around and stop all the bullets but get shot or something? Again, if you got to think about the workings of a TV show, they're not going to shoot a kid, fake or not.
Yes.
But it just flashed in at my head and I was like, that'd be so funny. That would be
like, that action though was pointless because A, those kids could have stopped the bullets, and B, those kids aren't real. It was completely pointless.
And even if they were real, you'd just be shooting unarmed children that are being puppeteered by Wanda.
Yes, it's...
And also,
worthless action.
When the bullets go through Monica, the kids aren't standing behind her, they're standing off to the side of her, so he was going to miss them anyway. It was a warning shot. So, next time we're going to see the Skrulls, I think, really now is going to be, because Captain Marvel 2 comes out next year. I think it starts shooting this year. I think that the next time we're going to see these characters will be in Captain Marvel 2, or those ones specifically, and then we get our second post-credit of her in a log cabin.
Yes, in the mountains somewhere.
Where do you think...
And it does this weird thing where she's making coffee and then it pivots, and then she's not actually making coffee, she's reading the Darkhold. I don't know, it was kind of weird.
We never spoke about the Darkhold at all.
The Darkhold of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fame.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fame, the Darkhold looks different.
It's fine. They changed it to look more cinematic. Obviously,
imagine Ghost Rider showed up.
I would love that so much. Can you imagine if like she's reading the start of Doctor Strange, she's reading the Darkhold, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ghost Rider shows up.
Robbie Reyes shows up in his flaming hot car, and
I would love that so much.
All the tall
I
grass.
could never see that happening because, as you say, and I know I tease you for it, but I know you're right that they don't care about the pre-Disney Plus shows.
Yeah,
but I would love it so much.
It would be cool. I think you get more chance of it being Nicolas Cage though. Like you've got more chance of it being Nicolas Cage.
Everyone should watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a good show and it deserves more recognition.
This is our obligatory mention of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this episode. We've already done it, and we'll do it in future. So we're not seeing Ghost Rider. She's astral projecting, pouring some coffee, and she's in the back doing a Doctor Strange, analysing different timelines with his head moving about really, really quickly. She's doing that as well.
Except she's just reading the Darkhold, yes.
Do you think, isn't it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you read the Darkhold for too long, you'll go crazy?
I remember this, and I'm sure that's probably a thing from the comics too.
You think she's going to go
crazy?
Because
it's an evil book. I think she's going to go temporarily a bit crazy, and then Doctor Strange will cast a spell.
Do you think that's why Agatha Harkness was crazy? Not crazy, but bad.
Agatha Harkness never really struck me as evil. She was just kind of power-hungry.
Power-hungry, evil, tomato.
I have to say, her origin story of being like burned at the stake by the witches was so mid-2000s urban fantasy show.
It looked like an episode of, like, if the Scooby-Doo live-action films got a TV show. Like, I was expecting Freddie Prinze Jr. dressed up as Fred to come strolling in.
You know what it was? Like, I recently watched Jenny Nicholson's video on the Vampire Diaries, and it looked like a scene from the Vampire Diaries.
Wow.
It was because that show has a lot of like flashbacks to Civil War America.
Really, Rick? I've never seen the Vampire Diaries, but okay, yeah, no, I can totally see it. It did feel really kind of, yeah. I can't. I've lost the ability to articulate it, but I get exactly what you mean. Somebody mentioned to me that the log cabin she was in looked awfully similar to the log cabin that one Edward Norton Incredible Hulk went away to hide in at the end of the Incredible Hulk movie. I think the landscape around's a bit different. But see if it was the same place and there's some line about this is the place Bruce went to hide. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Would it?
That'd be fantastic.
Would it?
That would be a nice little sprinkle.
The Edward Norton Hulk is like is the child no one wants you to remember.
Nah,
of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Because they've got Tim Roth coming back as Abomination for She-Hulk. And they brought in Thunderbolt Ross, the secretary. Like,
I know, yeah. Remember Betty Ross though? No one does.
It's
poor Betty Ross.
Her, Hawkeye's wife, and Wasp. I'm convinced those are the same person.
Those are 3 different actors, Nathan.
I know, but in my head I'm like, it's the same actor. And I know Evangeline Lilly plays the role with amazing talent, not Betty Ross. I don't know. And I feel bad for it. I do admit it in myself. Like, I'm not saying it with pride. It's just, I don't know. It's like a Rolodex of, like, if you use like a face, like sliders on a make your own character thing, and they're just slightly tweaked a little bit, but it's the same template.
I'm not going to join you on this.
You're not joining me on this one. No, I didn't. Somehow I didn't think you would, and I'm not. And I'm freely admitting myself that I don't take any pride in it. It's just how I feel.
Back to WandaVision. We haven't really talked about like. I guess we have like Vision in this show. We talked about White Vision.
We haven't spoken about
I just wanted
Vision,
a little shout out to love me some Paul Bettany. He's a very charming man.
Who do you think's to get the best romance in the MCU?
It's there isn't a lot of great options, I'll give you. I think they did it quite well in this show, especially the scene where they're talking on the bed. I thought that was a really nice scene. That one in particular stands out. Like, I'm talking about the flashback to the Avengers base.
Yeah, to the Avengers facility. I think that Tony and Pepper have the most maybe realistic romance, but I think that Wanda and Vision have the most romantic fantasy romance, because when I watch Infinity War and they're in Edinburgh and they're hiding away and he sacrificed himself at the end and he's like, I only feel you and stuff like that, and even in this show they continue that through. I think it's all wonderful. I'm not one for laddie-da romance, Kyle, at all. I don't it's not for me. But I think the WandaVision romance is wonderful.
It's definitely, it's a higher standard than most of the Marvel romance, which is like, it's like we have a romantic subplot in this movie. Like, I mean, another one that I like more is the Spiderman Romance. I think that one works quite well. Is like awkward teenagers.
Yeah,
for what that's trying to achieve. Romance. Yeah. Yes, I think that works better than most. But like, even like Jane Foster and Thor, it's like they're there.
I'm sorry, Jane dumped you.
Yes. Other ones like Captain America and Sharon Carter. What a waste of screen time that was.
Peggy Carter, though.
Peggy Carter works a lot better. Another one on my rewatch, Captain America, the first one. Great movie, love it. I'm not even going to say it's perfectly fine. I think that's a great movie.
The first Avenger with Red Skull?
Yes. Yes, okay. I love that movie. I think it's great.
Tommy Lee Jones is the general.
I'm not kissing you.
You're not wrong. So, what about? So you think Sharon Carter was a waste of time? She's coming back. She's in Falcon.
I don't think. I mean, kind of, yes. Like thinking back to like Winter Soldier and Civil War, she really doesn't do much.
She's the character that gets you things. She progresses the plot forward in convenient ways.
Yeah, but there was never any chemistry there, like romance-wise. And that's how I feel about a lot of the romantic subplots in Marvel movies.
You don't think Pepper
they're
Potts
there,
and Tony Stark have chemistry?
I think they do. I think like a lot of the other ones don't. I mean, do you remember Doctor Strange's love interest, Nurse Lady?
Oh, the lady, the girl from you know the one, Mean Girls.
No.
Mean Girls.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think there's, because again, I watched Doctor Strange a couple of weeks ago. I actually quite liked. I mean, it's not an ideal relationship, but I actually quite enjoyed it. Like seeing them together on camera, like how he's just really fucking resentful and mean, and she's, she seriously has a connection with him, and she's putting up with this shit for not the right reasons, but human reasons nonetheless. He doesn't deserve her, but she's persisting nonetheless.
Okay, you see more of that than I do. I just find that in a lot of these Marvel movies, the romantic stuff is a bit of a pointless side tangent. Like, it doesn't really contribute much to the plot. It's just like a thing they feel like they have to have some romance in there.
But then you get a WandaVision where it's a crucial part of the story.
Yes, I think that's like, if it's the only Marvel one where they can actually justify putting romance in the tags on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Although, who knows, maybe Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know?
Who knows, maybe Sharon Carter and Bucky.
Oh no, I was going Bucky and Falcon.
Oh.
That was my indication.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. I don't think society's ready for it, Kyle.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
Would be funny though.
Would be hilarious to see the world burn. Disney Plus would have to get taken down.
I have to say, like, we're almost done with our discussion here. I think
we're kind of in the wrap up phase in case no
yes.
one was sure. People listening thinking we still had pages of content to go through.
Like, I don't want to go too long, and obviously we're going to cut down a lot because the audience didn't hear all of my dad causing so much audio problems.
Scott Rod's on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
Scott Rod's on YouTube, causing us issues every recording session. But, like, in terms of future Marvel shows, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, first off, terrible name, hate it, shorten the name, for the love of God. Secondly, it's just, I'm not super excited for it. Like, this one, I like the characters Wanda and Vision, so I thought it was going to be an interesting show.
You just don't have a clue what to expect with Falcon. Well, you know what to expect, but it's not appealing.
I know what to expect.
It's not appealing.
It's going to try and do Winter Soldier, but they're not going to capture the Winter Soldier feeling, I don't think.
No, that's where I think Captain America movies are great, because they're about something. There's like a thought, like privacy or security and what's the price of freedom, and like there's interesting discussions that happen in those films, and
yes.
I think that this show will try and continue it, or like national symbols and stuff, like, and how it can be exploited.
Well, obviously they've got like the Patriot or whatever he's called. Patriot's the guy from Agents. US agent, yes.
I think he's going to be an asshole Captain America. They could just use the director from S.H.I.E.L.D. But nah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm writing off too early. I think there might be something in there, is what I'm telling you, Kyle. If they're 39-minute episodes made up of 6 minutes of credits, no. But because we
haven't even talked about the credits in this show. The credits are they're taking the piss.
Long. Whenever I saw "Please Stand By" shot on my screen, I wanted to scream. Like, please, for another 7 days, you want me to please stand by? No, I will not stand by. Thank God the weeks flew in. I will say this. That's just unrelated to the show. But
that's just 2021.
The weeks are flying by. We're in the 3rd month already. I feel like I just took my Christmas jumper off last week.
That's life in quarantine. But yeah, it really annoys me that they played the full Marvel intro before every episode. That felt completely unnecessary.
You do it in the first episode, and that's it.
It's like, remember at the end of Clone Wars where they play the full, or the Siege of Mandalore, they play the full Marvel not Marvel,
full Star Wars fanfare. They don't give it a crawl, but they do the full. Yes. Yeah.
It's like if they did that for every single episode of Clone Wars. It's like,
the subsequent episodes in that arc just start with a title and stinging you in the episode.
Well, yeah, like just like because I finally watched the last season of Agents recently.
Yes, you did.
And they just do the Marvel flick through from the early movies, and it's like that would have been fine at the start of every episode. You don't need the full MCU fanfare at the start of every single episode.
I will say though, okay, I love me some MCU fanfare. It was unnecessary for this show, but I love it.
It felt especially out of place on the sitcom episodes because you do this big Marvel MCU fanfare and then it goes to like black and white 4x3.
WandaVision, yeah. You're not wrong. It did feel out of place. But whenever I get Marvel fanfare, I'm always like, whoa, here we go. It's become like a long time ago and that's far, far away. It really has.
I understand that. I don't know. Like, this show was interesting. I like Marvel stuff. I don't particularly love it. Like, it's a thing I watch and I enjoy, but like you say, it's popcorn. It's not, there's not any, like, it's not high art. There's not much to analyze. That's why I've never really made a Marvel video, because there's never been anything that's grabbed me, and like even Star Wars, although usually to complain.
Yes, usually, but the MCU has successfully done 10 years and beyond of being perfectly inoffensive entertainment.
Yes. Yes, it has. And I know people don't like that. They wish it would do more. Like, I think it's fine. You know, I can do my usual complaining about Disney being a monopoly here, but like, it's perfectly fine, innocent entertainment, and I don't think there's a problem with that.